This is the blueprint to buy your home this year. And I'm gonna walk you through it step by step, even if you're starting with no savings and no credit. Before the first step, there's one cardinal sin you must avoid or you will never buy your home. Never be a Cam. Cam was one of my first clients when I got into the business years ago, and Cam loved to look at houses. And I was super excited to begin working with him because when I met him, he was a cash buyer. He had every advantage in the crowded marketplace of buyers to win the home of his dreams at a great price. But Cam had one fatal flaw, and that was he loved looking at houses and wanted to find the perfect house. Years later, and after hundreds of homes that we looked at, and I know he's worked with other realtors since then, Cam is still looking and has never actually bought a home because he fell into what we call the doom scroll trap. And he was never successful because he refused to go through this 4-part blueprint I'm about to share now, starting with you gotta kill the zombies. Zombies are anything that's trailing behind you, following you around that you might not even know about, especially if they're a long ways behind you. And zombies are things that are on your credit report that might have happened years ago. It might be identity theft. And many times you won't even realize that it's there until you're in a high stakes situation. You already have deposit money on the line and you can lose thousands of dollars from something that's completely avoidable by today learning exactly what's on your full credit report. And this is different from Credit Karma and all of the soft pull applications. Now I'll tell you exactly what to do depending on what Credit Karma or your banking app tells you your credit score is right now. But before that, I need to make sure we set the record straight on 2 different misconceptions. Number 1, applying for a loan does not mean that you're getting a mortgage. If you apply for a pre-approval, all that pre-approval means is that you are pre-approved to make an offer that the bank will give the seller the money so you can buy the home. Misconception number 2 is that there's some giant ding to your credit if you make an application for a mortgage. The reality is it's only 2 to 3 points if the lender does a hard pull, and many lenders won't even do a hard pull and you can request that they don't. But it's very key that you know exactly what's on that credit report, so if there are any zombies, you can kill off those zombies before you get under contract, and there's no expensive surprises that cost you a ton of money and pull the rug out from under you. If you have lower credit, you can definitely optimize and save some money by knowing what's on that credit report holding you back. And if you have higher credit, you probably still can optimize, but it's not nearly as big of a deal. And the one warning I want to put out there is that credit repair is usually a scam. 95% of scenarios, unless there's crazy identity theft or something else, 95% of scenarios, you can take care of the things that will boost your score up. I've had clients that got their score up by 100 points or more in just 1 to 2 months. So your homework, get a plan, follow the plan, and don't change anything without consulting the person that gave you the plan, and I'll have resources for that later. Check the speed limit. I love to go hiking, and my girlfriend and I will drive up into the mountains on these beautiful winding mountain roads to go to some of the best hiking spots here in North Carolina. And one of the things I always notice are the speed limits, because depending on where I am, especially if I've never been there before, sometimes the speed limit can feel weirdly fast for the road that I'm on, and other times it can feel really painfully slow. But one of the things I've noticed is the civil engineers that set those speed limits do a pretty good job. And so as I'm driving on those roads, sometimes I'll realize, especially if I drive out and then drive back on the same road, it might have felt fast going out, but coming back, now that I know the lay of the land, it was an appropriate speed limit. And there's other times where when I'm driving along and it feels like the speed limit might be a little too low and I could go faster, usually there's a blind curve that's super sharp or something that I don't see coming. And so budgeting for buying a home is very similar, and I'm gonna give you 2 different ways to calculate your speed limit. First, you need to understand there's 2 components to your monthly payment, PITI and HOA. This is the total payment number we're gonna calculate so there's no surprises when you're done. The first way to calculate this is if you know your gross income, or how much money you make before you pay any taxes and all the money that comes in, or if you're self-employed, what your net operating profit is after you pay your business expenses. You can take between 30 to 40% of that monthly number, and that would be what your payment is. However, the simpler way that I much prefer is everybody kind of knows their budget, and usually you can get very accurate, honestly, with just what's your maximum comfortable monthly payment. And usually that will be a pretty accurate assessment of what that PITI plus HOA number needs to be below. Now, this will all depend on your personal situation, but we're not calculating this number to go look at Zillow. Instead, we're calculating this number because it is a prerequisite, something we got to do before anything else, before step 4, which we'll get to in a moment. First, we have to find your buy window. Think of the buy window like you're on the second story of a house, and you want to look out down the street both ways and see what's out there in the market that might be a good fit for you. But even though you might be able to see everything that's in the market, if that window is not open, you won't be able to jump out and run over and claim a house even if it becomes available. And searching for a home is very similar. Cam fell into that same trap because he had no idea what his timeline was or when he wanted to make a move. And so as a result, he spent over $100,000 on rent just since I met him that he didn't need to. And I know you don't want to make that same mistake as Cam. So the questions you want to ask for this are, what are my timeline constraints? Do I need to sell a house? Am I moving for a job? Does it just depend on when I'm able to save up the appropriate amount of money to be able to purchase and close on a home? And what are the things that must occur in order for me to be ready to buy and make a move? Next, you need to build a war chest. If you find a home that you do want, you need to be prepared to fight for it and win in this market because it still is really challenging. Even though there's less homes being sold, there still are a ton of offers on many of the good deals and the good homes because they're good deals and they're good homes. Now, the question I always get is, how much money do you need to buy a home? And really, honestly, it depends. Everything's negotiable, and I know a ton of programs and banks and different ways to negotiate and get that number honestly down close to zero. You can buy a home with less than $1,000 in the bank, but just because you can doesn't mean that it's a wise decision. And so, like everything in life, more money means more options, but just because you don't have $1 million in the bank doesn't stop you from buying a home. Now, in general, you want between 2 to 5% of your speed limit number as your war chest number. And we can pull that together a few different ways, including retirement accounts, savings accounts, cash in the bank, settlements, even sign-on bonuses, or if you're selling a home, whatever the net proceeds are from that. And especially if you're buying, let's say, new construction, you'll have multiple months where you can save towards that even while you already have a home reserved. So add up what you have and see if you need to still save more for your war chest. But the real question is, are you ready to buy a home, or what's your next step? Let me know under the like button down in the comments, or if you need help putting together your own plan, you can call, text, email, or book a time directly on my calendar here. My name's Lucas Roller, your realtor, to find a great deal on the perfect home at the right time for you. And as always, until next time, hope to show you around.